I never imagined planting roots before my 30th birthday. Yet here I was, the weight of the house keys in my palm, a tangible measure of my success. The immense pride was earned over years of relentless hustling and religiously banking every last dime. Then the silence was shattered. The name is Nolan, and my mother, Candace Maxwell, materialized on my doorstep after 7 years of absolute radio silence. The sheer audacity of her demand was breathtaking. She wanted my house, outright threatening legal action. In her twisted view, she was infinitely more deserving of it than I was. Before I detail how I navigated that shocking challenge, take a moment to drop a comment about where you're connecting from, and please hit that like and subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss how this intense family drama unfolds. My childhood was a relentless cycle of instability. Candace, my mother, raised me solo, though raising feels like a generous word for the reality. While other kids had moms who packed lunches and cheered at school plays, mine was routinely absent, her social life and dependency on alcohol always taking priority over my basic needs. By the time I was 8, I'd mastered simple cooking because the alternative was going hungry. Candace's dating rotation was dizzying. Each new relationship meant packing our bags and moving into whatever man's apartment or house currently held her attention. I attended 5 different elementary schools and 3 middle schools. Making friends became futile. I knew the next move was inevitable. The constant upheaval made academic focus nearly impossible, yet I somehow managed to pull off solid grades. At 15, I started working at the local grocery store after school. My paychecks funded my own clothes, school materials, and frequently groceries. Candace had a habit of borrowing from my wallet when her funds dried up, usually after a night at the local saloon. She never honored her promises to repay me. The final straw landed shortly after I turned 19. Candace brought home Mitch, her latest flame. He was loud, drank heavily, and made his disdain for me abundantly clear. One rainy evening in November, I returned from my double shift to find my sparse belongings piled near the front door. "You need to find somewhere else to stay," Candace slurred, barely glancing in my direction. "Mitch is moving in and we need your space." "This is my home too," I argued, the exhaustion of my long day making my voice crack. "I have nowhere to go." "Not my problem," she shrugged dismissively. "You're an adult now. Figure it out." When I initially refused to leave, the situation escalated. Candace screamed that I was an ungrateful child who never appreciated her sacrifices. The bitter irony nearly made me laugh. "You're not even worth being called my son," she spat. "Get out and don't come back." I quickly packed 2 large duffel bags, some clothes, my textbooks, and the small amount of cash I'd managed to hide from her. Walking out that front door was the most difficult and the easiest decision I'd ever made. Hard because I was officially homeless. Easy because I was finally free from her lifelong chaos. That night, I crashed on a friend's sofa. For the next several months, I bounced between friends' homes while working full-time and furiously applying to universities. My determination to build a better life was absolute. University life was its own gauntlet. Without any parental help, I had to secure student loans and scholarships while juggling multiple part-time positions. My schedule was brutal. Classes in the morning, work until the late evening, followed by studying until midnight. Weekends were not for rest. I picked up extra shifts whenever I could. Sleep was a rare luxury. During my second year, I enrolled in an advanced software engineering course taught by Professor Kenneth Sterling. Unlike most faculty, Kenneth noticed my constant exhaustion and frequent yawning in his early morning class. After one particularly bad day, I almost drifted off during his lecture, and he asked me to remain after class. "Nolan, is everything okay? You seem to be struggling to stay awake." Too drained to invent excuses, I laid out my reality. Working over 30 hours a week, while taking a full course load, no family support, and barely making rent. Instead of the expected lecture about prioritizing academics, Kenneth surprised me. He offered me a research assistant role in his lab. The pay was significantly better than my current jobs, the hours were flexible, and crucially, the work was directly relevant to my engineering major. "Everyone needs a boost sometimes," he stated simply. "You have real potential. I'd hate to see it wasted because the system is stacked against talented students like you." Kenneth became far more than just my boss. He became a mentor, offering invaluable guidance on courses, career paths, and navigating life. For the first time, I had someone genuinely invested in my success. After graduation, I secured a position at a major tech firm in San Francisco. The starting salary felt astronomical compared to my previous earnings, but I maintained my extremely frugal habits. Every extra dollar went straight into my savings account for my ultimate objective: owning a home. For 3.5 years, I lived in a minuscule studio apartment, drove an aging sedan that constantly needed repairs, and severely limited my social outings. My colleagues thought I was odd for bringing my own lunch every day, and declining all happy hour invitations. They didn't grasp my singular focus. Never again would I be at the mercy of a landlord, or worse, someone else's unpredictable whims about where I was allowed to live. The day I started house hunting is etched in my memory. The agent, Madison Hayes, showed me several properties within my budget. Most needed serious work, but I didn't mind. I was handy enough for minor repairs and could save up for the major issues. The 5th house we toured was ideal. A modest, 2-bedroom cottage in a quiet residential area. Although small and dated, it had solid construction and a decent yard where I immediately imagined planting a garden. When Madison mentioned it was slightly over my price range, my heart sank. However, after intense negotiation, the sellers accepted my offer, partly because I was a first-time buyer with financing already locked in. Signing those final closing documents made every sacrifice worthwhile. The years of saving, the long hours, the isolation. I had achieved this completely on my own, without family connections or inheritance. This house represented my triumph over a difficult past. The first few months of home ownership were pure bliss. I painted every room, replaced the old appliances, and slowly furnished the space with items that finally reflected my own personality. Neighbors stopped by to welcome me, and for the first time in my life, I experienced a genuine sense of belonging. Then came the knock that instantly shattered my peaceful existence. Opening the door on a quiet Sunday evening, I was face to face with someone I hadn't seen in 7 long years. Candace. Time had not been kind. Deep lines were etched onto her once attractive face, and her hair was noticeably thinner. She wore clothes that looked expensive but oddly ill-fitting, as if they were borrowed. "Nolan," she said, her voice carrying that same sweet, lilting tone I remembered from childhood, the one she always used when she wanted something. "Look at you, all grown up." Shock paralyzed me. 1,000 emotions collided: anger, confusion, anxiety, and underneath it all, that sliver of old childish hope that maybe, just maybe, she had changed. "Can I come in?" she asked, not waiting for a reply before sweeping past me and into my home. Against my better judgment, I closed the door and followed her. She wandered through the living room, trailing her fingers across my new furniture and examining the framed photos on the walls. "Nice place you've got here," she commented, sinking onto my new sofa as if she owned it. "You've done very well for yourself." I remained standing, arms crossed. "What do you want, Candace?" Her smile faltered slightly at my use of her first name. "Can't a mother visit her son? I've missed you." 7 years is a long time to miss someone without ever picking up the phone. She sighed dramatically. "I know we parted on difficult terms. I want to make amends." I doubted her sincerity, but offered her tea out of a basic sense of courtesy. As the kettle whistled, she peppered me with questions about my job, my friends, and most importantly, how I had managed to afford the house. I answered vaguely, profoundly uncomfortable sharing personal details. Eventually, she revealed her true agenda. "I'm in a little bit of a difficult situation," she admitted. "Rick and I broke up, and, well, I had to move out of his apartment. I'm currently between places." The familiar, tiresome pattern had emerged. Candace was in trouble and desperately looking for a savior. That savior, as it had always been, was supposed to be me. "I just need a place to stay for a few weeks, just until I can get back on my feet. You have this whole house now. Surely you can spare your mother a room." "I can't help you," I stated, the words coming out easier and firmer than I had expected. "But I can give you the numbers for local support services or shelters that might be able to assist." Candace's pleasant facade instantly crumbled. "Shelters? You would send your own mother to a homeless shelter when you have this enormous house?" "This is my home, Candace. I bought it with my own hard-earned money, money I made while you were completely absent from my life." Her eyes narrowed to slits. "After everything I did for you, I sacrificed my youth raising you by myself." I couldn't help the bitter, humorless laugh that escaped. "Raising me? You barely fed me. I raised myself while you were busy with your boyfriends and parties." Candace stood up, her teacup rattling dangerously on the coffee table. "You ungrateful brat. You think you're so much better than me now with your important job and this house? This isn't about being better than you. This is about boundaries. I am not responsible for housing you." "I am your mother," she shrieked, her voice reaching a piercing pitch that made me wince. "You owe me everything. Without me, you wouldn't even exist." The argument spiraled as Candace began dredging up selective memories of my childhood, twisting them to portray herself as a devoted, struggling single mom. Each fabrication stoked my anger until I finally cut off her revisionist history. Stop lying. We both know what truly happened. I worked since I was 15 just to buy my own food because you spent the money on alcohol. I put myself through college while you didn't even know what I was studying. You kicked me out at 19 with absolutely nowhere to go. So no, I don't owe you a single thing. Her expression shifted, a cold, calculating look replacing the rage. "We'll see about that," she said frigidly. "I contributed to your success. I provided a foundation that allowed you to thrive. Any court would agree that I deserve compensation." "What exactly are you talking about?" "I'm talking about taking legal action, Nolan. I deserve a share of what you've acquired, including this property." I stood there, momentarily stunned into silence by the sheer absurdity of her threat. "You can't possibly be serious." "Very serious," she replied. "I've already consulted with an attorney. As your mother, who made sacrifices for your upbringing, I am entitled to support. The courts tend to favor mothers, you know." The conversation ended quickly after her threat. I demanded she leave, and surprisingly, she complied without much fuss. Her parting shot was a smug, chilling, "See you in court."
Initially, I dismissed the threat as empty, a typical manipulation tactic from Candace. That changed when my neighbor, Mr. Douglas, mentioned meeting my mother, who had told him she was the rightful owner of my house and would soon be moving in. Candace had been going door to door, spreading malicious lies about me, stealing her property. The situation dramatically worsened when I received an official legal notice. Candace had indeed found an attorney willing to take her case. Her claim outrageously alleged that she had provided substantial financial support throughout my education that directly led to my current professional success. She demanded either ownership of my house or a settlement equal to its market value. The allegations were total fabrications. Candace had never contributed a penny to my education. I was still repaying my student loans, but the audacity of her claim left me reeling. How could she possibly think this might work? My phone then flooded with calls from unidentified numbers. When I answered, I heard Candace's voice demanding I do the right thing before things got really messy. She threatened to contact my employer with character smears, tell the neighbors I was volatile, and ultimately destroy the stable life I so painstakingly built. Panic and rage drove me to seek professional legal help. After researching family law specialists, I scheduled a meeting with attorney Lauren Mendez, whose reputation for handling unusual family disputes was outstanding. Lauren listened intently to my entire story, asking sharp, pointed questions about documentation. Did I have proof of paying my own way through university? Records of my student loans? Tax returns showing I claimed myself as an independent? Fortunately, my meticulous organizational habits meant I had kept almost all the important paperwork. Based on what you've told me and the documents you can provide, her claim has no legal merit whatsoever, Lauren assured me. However, that doesn't mean this will be easy. Family disputes rarely are, even when the law is clearly on one side. We developed a solid strategy. Gather comprehensive evidence of my complete financial independence, meticulously document Candace's harassment, and file for a restraining order based on her escalating aggressive behavior.
The subsequent weeks were a living nightmare.
Candace intensified her harassment, showing up at my workplace to cause scenes. She left aggressive, threatening voicemails and sent texts that constantly alternated between pure rage and fake maternal concern. I installed security cameras after finding my small garden destroyed one morning. My work performance suffered badly as stress and chronic sleep deprivation took its toll. Thankfully, my manager, Mr. Harrison, was incredibly understanding after I explained the situation. He even adjusted my work schedule to accommodate my legal appointments and offered the company's internal security service for escort when Candace was sighted near the office. Through this devastating ordeal, unexpected support emerged. Kenneth, my former professor, immediately volunteered to testify about my true circumstances during university. Co-workers organized meal deliveries when I was too exhausted to cook. My neighbors, far from believing Candace's lies, formed a casual neighborhood watch, alerting me whenever she was spotted nearby. As the court date neared, Lauren helped prepare me for the proceedings. She advised, "Let Candace speak first. She will likely become overly emotional and potentially inconsistent. Stay calm, stick to the facts, and let the undeniable evidence speak for itself." The night before the court appearance, I barely slept. Doubts plagued me, despite Lauren's evident confidence. What if the judge felt sympathy for Candace, simply because she was my mother? What if some legal technicality gave her absurd claim legitimacy? The county courthouse felt imposing as I climbed its stone steps that Tuesday morning. Lauren met me outside, projecting a sense of calm confidence that helped steady my nerves. Inside, we found Candace already seated with her own attorney, a visibly disorganized man whose suit looked worn out. She shot me a smug, triumphant smile that made my stomach clench. When our case was finally called, we moved to the front of the courtroom. The judge, an older woman with silver-gray hair and penetrating eyes, reviewed the case file documents briefly before asking Candace's attorney to present their case. His opening argument painted Candace as a devoted single mother who had sacrificed everything for her child, only to be cruelly abandoned in her time of need. According to their narrative, Candace had worked multiple jobs to support my education, provided constant emotional and financial assistance throughout my life, and was now facing severe financial hardship while I was enjoying the wealth generated by her labor. Candace took the witness stand, dabbing at non-existent tears as she fabricated a story about emptying her savings account to put me through university. She claimed to have co-signed my student loans, paid my rent during my second year, and even contributed to the down payment on the house with a cash gift that I had now conveniently forgotten. Each lie made my blood boil, but Lauren's reassuring hand on my arm was a crucial reminder to maintain absolute composure. The judge listened impassively, making occasional notes, but revealing nothing of her internal thoughts. When it was our turn, Lauren methodically and expertly dismantled every single one of Candace's claims. She presented my scholarship award letters and student loan documentation, proving I was the sole borrower. My tax returns from the age of 19 onward proved I had claimed myself as fully independent. Letters from former employers confirmed my extensive work history throughout my university years. Most devastating to Candace's case were the records Lauren had subpoenaed.
Candace's own tax returns, which never showed me as a dependent after age 17, and her bank records, which revealed absolutely no substantial withdrawals that could have possibly gone toward my education or housing. Your Honor, Lauren stated clearly, we have one more crucial piece of evidence regarding Ms. Maxwell's ongoing harassment of my client. With the court's permission, she played recorded segments of Candace's most aggressive, threatening voicemails and showed photographic evidence of the property damage. The final piece was the video footage from my security camera clearly capturing Candace screaming at my front door that she would make me pay and take everything. The shift in the courtroom was palpable. Candace's attorney looked profoundly uncomfortable, while Candace herself grew visibly agitated. When the judge asked if she wished to respond to this new evidence, Candace instantly lost the last shred of composure she had maintained. She screamed, "She owes me! She gave me life! Everything he has should be mine! He abandoned me when I needed him!" Your Honor, Ms. Maxwell, please control yourself, the judge warned sternly. No, you are all against me. He turned everyone against his own mother. The judge quickly signaled to the bailiff as Candace continued her hysterical tirade. Once order was restored, the judge spoke clearly and firmly. Having reviewed the evidence presented by both parties, I find no merit whatsoever in the plaintiff's claim. Not only is there zero legal basis for Miss Maxwell to claim ownership or financial interest in the defendant's property, but there is substantial documented evidence of harassment and false statements made by the plaintiff. The judge dismissed Candace's case with prejudice, meaning she was legally forbidden from refiling the exact same claim. Additionally, she granted my request for a permanent restraining order, prohibiting Candace from contacting me or coming within 500 feet of my home or workplace. Furthermore, the judge continued, looking directly at a fuming Candace. The court finds this lawsuit to be frivolous and potentially malicious in nature. The plaintiff will be held responsible for the defendant's legal fees in full. Candace's scream of outrage was abruptly cut short as the bailiff promptly escorted her from the courtroom after yet another outburst. Her attorney hastily gathered his papers and fled the scene, likely realizing he had backed a spectacularly losing case. Outside the courthouse, relief hit me so forcefully that I had to lean against a nearby pillar for support. Lauren patted my shoulder gently. "It's over, Nolan. She cannot legally bother you anymore." But as I watched Candace being escorted to her car, still screaming and pointing in my direction, I knew that while the legal battle was definitively won, the deep emotional aftermath was only just beginning. The drive home felt surreal. I had achieved a complete victory, yet the triumph brought a complex mixture of emotions. Relief dominated initially, knowing my home was secure and Candace legally barred from harassing me further. But beneath that relief lurked a deep sadness for the mother I never truly had, and a righteous anger that she would rather exploit me than take responsibility for her own life. Entering my house that evening, I saw it with new clarity. These walls now symbolized not just independence, but a definitive boundary between my turbulent past and my future. I had defended this space, this life I built. It belonged to me, in a way that utterly transcended mere legal ownership.
The following days passed in a haze as I processed everything. Friends called to check on me, concerned about my unusual silence. I assured them that I was fine, just utterly exhausted. But the truth was more complicated. How do you fully explain mourning the loss of a relationship that was never healthy to begin with? 2 weeks after the court case concluded, I found myself sitting across from Dr. Olivia Winters, a therapist specializing in family trauma. Initially hesitant to seek professional help, Kenneth had convinced me that guidance might help navigate the severe emotional fallout. What you're experiencing is common for people with backgrounds like yours, Dr. Winters explained during our third session. You are grieving not just the recent conflict, but the mother you deserved and never had. Over the course of several months of therapy, I began to finally untangle the complicated emotions surrounding Candace. The paralyzing guilt that had periodically plagued me since cutting contact slowly dissolved as I recognized it was never my responsibility to sacrifice my own well-being for someone who had consistently harmed me, biological connection notwithstanding. Dr. Winters introduced me to a support group for adults with estranged family members. Meeting others with similar experiences proved incredibly healing. Some had maintained careful, strict boundaries with toxic parents. Others had completely severed ties. All of them understood the unique pain of family betrayal in a way most friends could not, no matter how sympathetic they were. "Family is not just blood," said Eleanor, a woman in her 60s who hadn't spoken to her abusive father in decades. "Family is who shows up, who respects your boundaries, who celebrates your joys and comforts your sorrows." Those words resonated deeply within me. Looking at my life objectively, I had created a chosen family far more supportive than my biological one had ever been. Kenneth checking in weekly, co-workers turned true friends who rallied around me during the legal battle, even Lauren, who had gone above and beyond mere legal representation to ensure I was okay. As months turned into a year, I poured my energy into making the house truly mine. I built elaborate bookshelves for my ever-growing collection, successfully planted a small vegetable garden in the backyard, and repainted every single room a second time. Each improvement slowly but surely erased Candace's shadow, replacing negative associations with the pure pride of creating something beautiful. The 1-year anniversary of the court case arrived on a perfect sunny June day. I hosted a large backyard barbecue for everyone who had supported me throughout the entire ordeal. As I looked around at the gathering, the sound of laughter and easy conversation flowing freely, I realized how far I had truly come. These people were my real family. Later that evening, Kenneth pulled me aside. He said cautiously, "I have some news you might want to hear." Candace moved to Texas. A former colleague spotted her working at a resort restaurant there. Surprisingly, the information caused absolutely no distress. I said simply, "Good. I hope she finds whatever she's looking for." "You don't hate her?" Kenneth seemed genuinely surprised. "Hating her would give her power over me. She doesn't deserve that.
I explained. "I've spent too much energy on anger already. I just want her to stay away and live her life while I live mine." That conversation marked a decisive turning point. I had feared Candace's shadow would forever darken my achievements, that I would always be looking over my shoulder, expecting her next attack. Instead, I found myself genuinely unconcerned with her whereabouts or circumstances. My life was moving forward, regardless of her choices. My career flourished as the mental energy previously consumed by stress was now available for creative problem solving. A major promotion followed, along with recognition for an innovative software solution I developed. The financial stability allowed me to accelerate my student loan payments and even start investing actively for retirement. Social connections deepened as I opened myself to new friendships without the constant weariness that had characterized my earlier relationships. I joined a local cycling club, volunteered at a youth mentoring center, and even started dating again after years of avoiding romantic entanglements. The lessons from this intense chapter of my life crystallized gradually. I learned that establishing firm boundaries is not selfish, but absolutely necessary for well-being. That forgiveness does not necessarily require reconciliation or continued contact. That family is defined by actions and choices, not merely by biology. Most importantly, I discovered a profound resilience within myself, far beyond what I had ever recognized. Every obstacle Candace had created, intentionally or through neglect, had forced me to develop the strengths that now served me well. My independence, my fierce work ethic, my resourcefulness, and my ability to function effectively under extreme pressure. All of it traced back to surviving her chaos. 2 years after the court battle, I received a small, flat package forwarded through Lauren's office. The return address was totally unfamiliar. Inside was a tarnished silver pocket watch and a brief note in Candace's handwriting. "This belonged to your grandfather. It should be yours now." No apology, no explanation, no request to reconnect. Just the watch and those 2 short sentences. I placed the watch deep in my desk drawer, neither wearing it nor discarding it. Perhaps it was Candace's attempt at amends in the only way she knew how. Perhaps it was merely a fleeting moment of guilt or sentiment. Either way, I felt no obligation to respond. My story doesn't end with a perfect Hollywood script where all family wounds magically heal and relationships are fully restored. Real life rarely works that way. Instead, it has a better ending. One where I successfully broke the cycle of toxicity, built a stable life aligned with my values, and surrounded myself with people who demonstrate what love actually looks like in action. The house that Candace tried to claim stands as a powerful symbol of everything I have overcome. Within these walls that I now own and meticulously maintain, I have finally created the stable, peaceful environment I never had as a child. No court decision could have given me anything more valuable than the knowledge that I built this life myself, and no one can take it away. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to hear more real-life experiences about building a life from scratch. Thank you for listening, and remember, family is about love and support, not toxic control. Drop a like. Share this story with someone who might need to hear that message today.